What happens when a franchise legend becomes a franchise burden? In 2006, one of the greatest players of his generation, Allen Iverson, was slowly becoming the most talked about distraction in the NBA, and no one felt the pressure more than his teammates. Kyle Korver, a young sharpshooter on the Philadelphia 76ers at the time, recently revealed just how toxic things got in that locker room. He said, and I quote, "We want it to be over. We just want to move on." That quote gives us a rare look into the locker room on the edge, caught in the wake of a slow-motion breakup between a superstar and the franchise he once carried on his back. In today's video, we're going to explore why the Iverson and Sixers breakup was inevitable, how his presence affected the team, the locker room, and even player development, and what this saga teaches us about modern stars like Jimmy Butler and the fragility of chemistry in the NBA. This isn't just a story about Iverson, it's a story about legacy, leadership, and what happens when greatness goes uncontained.
Ed Snyder, the chairman of the Philadelphia 76ers, said that you asked to be traded.
I didn't speak to him. I don't speak to Ed Snyder unless it's after or before a game.
And from where you're sitting, has Allen Iverson played his last game for the Philadelphia 76ers?
Probably.
So let's rewind the tape. In 2006, Allen Iverson had already spent a decade in Philadelphia. He was the guy, a former MVP, a four-time scoring champion, a cultural icon. But underneath the surface, things were falling apart. It's hard to pinpoint when the fracture started, but one red flag came in April 2006. That's when Iverson and teammate Chris Webber showed up late to the final home game of the season, a night meant to honor the fans. They were fine, sure, but more importantly, it was symbolic. A moment where fans, the media, and even the front office realized Iverson's time in Philly might be nearing its end. Then came the trade rumors. Boston, Atlanta, Denver, you name it. Every day new headlines. Every day more distractions. The Sixers didn't trade him that summer. He stuck around, but only for 15 more games. During that stretch, those last 15 games of Iverson's Sixers career, the team went 5-10. Morale was low, confusion was high. Then came the trade request. Iverson wanted out, and for a team already struggling to win, it felt like the final blow. The chairman of the team, Ed Snyder, went on TV and confirmed what everyone suspected. We're going to trade him. At a certain point, you have to come to grips with the fact it's not working. That level of public acknowledgement, that doesn't happen often, but the situation had spiraled. And while the media was eating it up, the players were fed up. Kyle Korver, who went on to be an all-star and one of the league's most respected shooters, said the quiet part out loud. "We want it to be over." That one sentence says everything. Players didn't just lose faith, they were absolutely exhausted. They weren't upset that Iverson wanted to leave. They were upset that it dragged on, that the speculation wouldn't stop, that after every shoot-around it became a media circus. Korver continued by saying, "We just want to move on, and we don't want to have long interviews after shoot-around." The locker room just really wanted peace, clarity, direction, and they weren't getting any of this as long as Allen Iverson was in limbo. Eventually, the Sixers made their move. On December 19, 2006, Allen Iverson, along with Ivan McFarlane, was traded to the Denver Nuggets in exchange for Andre Miller, Joe Smith, and 2 first-round picks. It was the end of an era. The Sixers traded away their identity, their culture, but also their problem. In return, they got professionalism. Andre Miller was steady, reliable, unflashy, the complete opposite of AI. In hindsight, the trade signaled more than just a roster shift. It was an organizational reset, a chance to stop living in Iverson's shadow and start building something new, even if it would take years. Allen Iverson will forever be remembered as one of the most iconic and influential players in NBA history. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Iverson was also his own worst enemy. For every jaw-dropping crossover and fearless drive to the rim, there was another off-court controversy, another missed practice, another press conference moment that made headlines for the wrong reasons. His battle wasn't just against defenders, it was against authority, against structure, against the very idea of conformity. And in the long run, it actually cost him. He burned out early. His career ended not with a farewell tour, but with an unceremonious exit. No retirement night, no long goodbye, just silence as he quietly exited. Imagine what his career could have looked like if he had embraced leadership the same way he embraced the spotlight. If he had lifted up his teammates instead of becoming the reason they were exhausted. Yes, he was a warrior, but he also left wreckage behind. And that brings us to today. If this story sounds familiar, it's because it is. Because just this past season, the Miami Heat, one of the most well-run organizations in basketball, found themselves in a similar spot with Jimmy Butler. The difference? Butler has been traded. As he left the franchise, there was reports of friction, growing fatigue among teammates, and questions about his long-term fit anywhere. We've heard the whispers of his work ethic declining, of clashes with coaching staff, of teammates questioning whether the version of Butler they relied on for deep playoff runs is even still there. And that sounds familiar because it was similar with AI. This isn't to say Butler is Iverson, but the lesson is the same. A star's presence only helps if it doesn't overshadow the team. Once the drama becomes bigger than basketball, everything breaks down. At its core, this story is about something every NBA team fights for: chemistry. Not talent, not highlights, not even championships. Because without chemistry, without trust, cohesion, and shared purpose, none of the rest really matters. The Sixers in 2006 had Allen Iverson, but they didn't have a team. They had frustrated veterans, overwhelmed rookies, a tired coach, and a front office just waiting for the storm to pass. Kyle Korver's quote is so powerful because it reminds us of the human side of the game. These are players with routines, relationships, ambitions, and when one player, no matter how great, derails all of that, it can sink the entire season. Even the greatest player in the world can't lead a team if a team doesn't want to follow. So here's the ultimate question. Was Allen Iverson a victim of bad management, or was he the architect of his own downfall? And do teams today learn from these mistakes, or are we just doomed to repeat them with each new generation of stars? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more upcoming videos and NBA content. My name is Damian Peters, this is Basketball Network, and I'll see you in the next one.